Welcome back. Now we're looking at a conversation that is very important in health, particularly for men, which is an enlarged prostate, which is one of the most common health challenges that men face as they age. And so that brings us to discuss the enlarged prostate, a familiar foe of men, with Dr. Ifeanacho Abireh, who is a urologist. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, doctor.
Thank you for having me.
Now, from your experience, can you tell us exactly what an enlarged prostate is and why it's so common among men?
Well, the prostate itself is something the creator put in every man, and it's somewhere just below the urinary bladder. We know the urinary bladder is that place where the body temporarily store urine, so that when you are ready to urinate, you get a conducive place, you go and urinate. And that's why they say you empty the bladder. Now the prostate is just below that place where you want to empty the bladder. So once that prostate gets bigger than it should be, and it usually happens when people are getting older, so once it gets bigger than it should be, because as it's getting bigger, it's also that, let me just say something, that there's a channel from that bladder to the outside. So, and that channel passes through that prostate. So when that prostate gets big, sometimes it will just press on that pipe, which passes through it. And so it's also, as it's getting bigger on the outside, it's also compressing what's inside of it. Okay. And then men find it difficult to urinate in that instance. So you see a man who goes to urinate, he stays there for like, for a very long time. So people are waiting for him to also urinate. Maybe they're using one public place. And so they stay a very long time because they'll be trying to force that urine through that place. So it's just, if the prostate gets bigger than it should be, this thing starts happening. And it usually happens in people who, as you get older.
Why? So it can happen to a younger person?
Yes, enlarged prostate. In a younger person, it can enlarge, but that will usually due to diseases, which if we just give the person some drugs, that treats it, comes down. But in that of adults, is persistent exposure to male hormones, like testosterone, that keeps, making it big. So maybe when it will not be big enough to cause this problem, the person may have been an adult. Okay, so that's why it's like you don't see it more in young people.
Okay. Okay, so what are the triggers of this enlargement of the prostate?
Yeah, just like I said, it's hormone. Once you're a man, and you now have testosterone. So once your prostate gets exposed to testosterone is the driving force of that prostate growth. And all men have testosterone. So it keeps stimulating that prostate. So testosterone is the main thing that makes the prostate to enlarge.
So what exactly are the common symptoms of an enlarged prostate? And why do men always ignore these symptoms? Is it not obvious, or is it something that can be hidden for a long time before you can realize it?
Generally, everybody in Nigeria, or most people in Nigeria, not like they ignore their symptoms, but they are not free to share their symptoms. Oh. Even high blood pressure, that's hypertension that people have, they don't usually they may not even tell their wives that they have high blood pressure, So that's just the problem. It's not like it's just a man's, not wanting to share. It's a common thing in Africa. Now, how do you know that you have prostate problems? It just starts with how you urinate. Usually when you are younger, for the guys, when you want to urinate, you can use your penis and point your urine to any direction. Even in your WC, you can use it to remove some stains there. because of the pressure and the force that will be coming out, you know. So, but if you have these prostate issues, it tightens that opening. And when it's tightened, the urine will be coming out small, you know, small. And so the pressure will not be strong again. You can't even use it to point at anything. In fact, if you raise it up, it may just be dropping right in front of you. So the problems that people that have prostate can have is that they may just be urinating every now and then. You urinate now, before it's up to 2 hours, you've gone to urinate again. Urinate now, maybe while we are here talking, someone will just go out, take excuse and go out and urinate and come back. So
is it because the bladder is not fully empty, so after a short while you have to go again?
That's part of it, but that's not entirely all. You know, if you don't empty the bladder fully, after a while you need to empty again. But the major thing is that the bladder gets thicker, the muscles of the bladder gets thicker. And then when any small urine that goes in, it is irritated. It wants to take off that urine because the bladder is built actually to take away, you know, push out urine. So once it senses that there's urine here, it pushes it out. So for that, people, those who have that prostate issues, once the bladder is thick, any little urine that is there, it is irritated and it wants to send the urine out.
Now, but like you said, every man has testosterone. But are you saying now that are you saying that since every man has this hormone that causes this prostrate to enlarge, that every man has prostrate? Because you know, I mean, something that you can't say it's caused by an ailment or something,
or a
something
lifestyle
in the body that is supposed to be a normal thing for men. So, and there are some men that do not have prostrate even at old age. So how do you, like, I'm trying to understand.
Yes, I understand you.
Yeah.
The thing is that every man has prostate, but not every man has the disease of the prostate. And that's where other factors play roles. Family, history, your lifestyle, and your genetic makeup. So some people, their parents do have prostate issues. They also have. Some their parents will have, they will not have. So that's where genetic predisposition comes in.
Okay.
That's where lifestyle comes in.
How does lifestyle come in here? Is there any particular lifestyle that you could live that will promote it?
We discourage smoking.
Okay.
And then we encourage exercise. We encourage you take diets that are low in fat. Okay. We encourage that you take diets that have lycopene, things like tomato. You know, when I was younger, people chew raw tomato. I don't know why they were chewing it then, but now I have the information that tomatoes help, but not the raw one, cooked one. Okay, cooked one has that more of that lycopene that is needed. So instead of eating raw tomato, eat cooked one. The ones that has been used to, you know, prepare your stew and all those. Then also soy products like soya beans, all those things contain, you know, chemicals that can help reduce this prostate growth.
Right. Now, you've mentioned all this food that one is supposed to eat, but like we asked someone a couple of days ago about the Nigerian condition, the Nigerian factor. Most of these dietary specifications that you just mentioned, the average Nigerian most times cannot afford to maintain that lifestyle of eating cooked tomatoes and
tomatoes are not cheap too.
You know, and all the things. So what practical dietary or lifestyle can that person, you know, inculcate, even with the increasing cost of food and you know, just living conditions generally?
Actually, these things I've talked about, they are not really expensive. The teaching is, you know, what we advise people is reduce milk, you know, dairy products, milk is quite expensive. Now, soya beans milk is cheaper than the milk that causes this problem. So people just go around. You can buy soya beans milk when you just go off the street there. It's very cheap. In fact, I know that some of you won't be taking it because you are thinking of the hygiene. Is it not?
Of course.
So, but it's readily available everywhere. That's soya beans milk. Now, tomato, we know is not too cheap. But if you target it during Christmas, October, November, December, tomato is usually cheaper than the other times. You take it. It's not that you have to take it every day. God made this world, seasonal. When it's season of granite, you take granite. Granite is also beneficial. When it's season of granite, you take granite. When it's season of mango, you take mango. When it's season of this, you take. So compared to those things that we find that causes it, that cause it, what you do to prevent it is even cheaper. Okay, you and I know that for you to buy milk, it's more expensive than for you to buy soya beans.
Relatively.
I know people are in the kitchen, so you know.
Okay, so you just mentioned that it's easier to remove it from a younger person, give the person medication and it goes down. What of the older ones? Is there no hope for them? Is there anything they can take to also help them?
There is. For the younger ones, I didn't say we'll remove it.
You said at least it disappears now. The swell, the enlargement disappears.
Yes. The cause of it mostly in the young people is infection.
Sexually transmitted?
It can be any transmitted.
Okay.
You can just go to urinate, you get the infection. It can be that your box size is not clean. The infection goes in. So it must not be sex. Okay, but once that infection is there, you use antibiotics. Most times it goes, but we have to use the antibiotics for a very long time, but for up to 6 weeks. Ideally just take antibiotics for 1 week.
Yeah.
In fact, sometimes when we prescribe it for 6 weeks, some pharmacists will think it's a mistake.
Well, it's too much.
That is too much, but that's what treats it because it's difficult to get that treated. So, but once we sort it out, they are good. But for the older ones, most of them are not caused by infection. So if you give them antibiotics, nothing happens. So what we do for older ones that have enlarged prostate, we want to first of all check whether it is cancer or not cancer, because the treatment that you give will now vary. Okay, so first of all, when they come to us and they have, I didn't say all the symptoms. If we find out that they have those symptoms, if you want me to say that,
Go ahead.
Okay, I said if the person's, urinates more often, like before 2 hours, he's urinating more than once, or he wants to urinate now, like we are talking now, if I have feeling that I want to urinate, I can just hold myself and say after this discussion, I'll go and urinate. But someone that has prostate issues will not be able to wait. He will rush out because he feels that if he waits, he can urinate on himself. And sometimes when he's even rushing to go and urinate, he has already started urinating on himself. Or at night, he wakes up more than 3 times to urinate before it's morning. He goes to urinate, that urine is not flowing very well. And then he has feeling that he has to force himself to push that urine to go. And sometimes he has that feeling that even when he finishes urinating, he feels that that urine is still there. So all these things is what, or sometimes he goes to urinate, the urine can't even come out. So all these things are symptoms that when you have to be assessed. Because if you leave it over a long time, it will come to a time where you will not be able to urinate. Now, but if you have the worst one, which you empty your urine, feels like something is remaining, you empty, feel like that one gets worse, because when it will hit, it may be sepsis, that's an infection all over the body that the person may have. And so the person may even become unconscious and he will be taken to the hospital.
That's horrible.
So once they come early, we have to determine whether it is cancer or not cancer. And then we'll have to examine the patient. Now, apart from this, discussion that you have with the patient, You have to also examine him. Part of it, we have to put your finger in his anus to feel the prostate, what it looks like. That gives it away whether it's cancer or not. Now, after these things, you can also do scan, ultrasound scan of the, prostate and look at the features. That also gives it that. Then you can ask the patient to do prostate-specific antigen. That's one that is common. Everybody, PSA. Okay, so when you do that, when you get that PSA, depends on the level, we now say, okay, this may be cancer or it may not be cancer. So if the doctor feels it may be cancer, he will advise the patient and we ask the patient to do something we call prostate biopsy. We still go through the anus and pick samples from the prostate and do, go and examine it under the microscope. So that will help us to see the features of those things that we have there. If it looks like cancer, it's okay. We advise the patient, and that decides the treatment that we offer.
This treatment, does it get to the point of surgery?
It can, yes. In fact, if it is benign, that is, if it is not cancer, we can give drugs. Now, if the drug relieves the problem, now the patient can be taking the drugs, okay, but he has to take that drug for life, just like hypertension. Then, if we check and everything, will see that either he is not going to benefit from the drug, then we'll advise him that we do surgery.
Okay.
And the surgery is not deadly at all. People think it's deadly, but that's the problem we have, but the surgery is not.
Okay.
Now, still talking about treatment options. Are the treatment options the same for every patient, or are there specific ways to approach different patients depending on their prostate issues or their body system or things? Are there any specific, or is it just a general treatment for everybody?
It's not a general treatment. For example, someone who has cancer of the prostate won't receive the same treatment as someone who does not have cancer. Now, someone who responds to a single medication, it's okay with single medication. If someone does not respond to single medication, there are cases where you can double the medication. So if this person if it's those who don't respond to the double medication, then surgery. Now, when you even come to the surgery, it depends on that prostate again, the size, to determine the kind of surgery you are going to do.
Such a complex world.
Exactly. But some men fear the side effects of these medications. Some people are scared of some form of dysfunction or maybe long-term dependency on these medications. So can you just, clarify some of these misconceptions or concerns that men have about their prostate issues and the medications involved?
Okay, the prostate issue, sometimes, these drugs, no one is without effect. So, but what you decide is you balance things in life. For example, even the surgery that we offer, for prostate diseases that are not cancerous, you still consider the person's, productivity, reproduction. Like, if he wants to still have children, you don't go and remove his prostate, because if you remove it, there may be what we call retrograde ejaculation. If he ejaculates, the sperms will go back into the bladder. Not all of them will come out. Okay, so there are considerations that are made, and those considerations are the things that we use to advise the patient and say, this is what you are going to expect if you are having this. You understand? Like, even the drugs, there are some that will also open. Anyway, let me know. There are what we call internal sphincters, and if that's the prostate that forms that. Okay. So now, if that sphincter is removed, the semen may be going backwards, and not all of them goes into the partner, and so with that, his reproduction ability is reduced. Okay. So what we now do is, there are drugs. If you are still going to have children, there are drugs we give. Instead of this, we give this. Okay, so that that one does not give much side effects like the other. But the thing is that the one that gives that more side effects functions better than this one that doesn't give. So it's just a balance that we keep creating.
Okay.
And that's why we call it, you manage the patient. Whatever, if it's this way, you go this way you go this way.
Well, let's look at support. Since you had mentioned that men shy away from, going for talking about it if they have the symptoms, how can the family also support men in situations like this, even with the stigma that they think it comes with?
Yes, what with this now is not just maybe family. It's the whole country, it's the whole mindset change. Because if people know that when they tell you something, you will not stigmatize them, they'll tell you. If you know that, for example, when you tell your wife you have prostate issues, he will not run away from you. You tell him. If you know that when you tell someone, please, I can't pee very fast, he will not bring it to village meeting and insult you. You tell him. So it's a general thing. We should learn as a people to accept others how they are and accept their problems. Like doctors, we are trained to be keep secrets. So if you tell me something, I'm not going to tell it even to your husband. Once you say, don't tell my husband this, I'm not going to do that. If the man says, don't tell my wife this, I'm not going to do that. So if all of us will learn, because what will stop me from telling you something is if I know that you're going to use it against me, or you're going to tell another person.
Okay.
So once as a people we change that mindset, people will start opening up. Not just about prostate disease, but
why is there a
things.
stigma around it? Because when you talk about having your prostate examined, people shy away from it. Is it because you have to go through the anus or what?
First of all, people are afraid to hear what they don't want to hear. Someone can be lively now. You go and check him and you say he has prostate cancer. He starts dying. Not the cancer that is killing him, but psychologically. That's one. And two is that people use things against you. Just like I said, you can be, maybe someone will have catheter on now. Catheter is what we put to enhance, permit the person to urinate. Now someone may have catheter on and his friend knows he has catheter on. And they go to a village meeting. The friend says something and he wants to counter what his friend said. The man will say, what's your problem? Someone that is normal is talking, and someone that has catheter is talking. So these are the things that
leads me to ask you about some of the misconceptions that need to be corrected about this prostrate issue, because we see some people who go through herbal means to treat this issue. Some fear impotence, like you mentioned about the medications and all whatnot. So what are some of the major misconceptions that you've encountered in your line of work, and what is the correct information to that?
The major misconception that I've encountered is the fact that people feel that when they have prostate surgery, they will die. That's the major.
It's even one of the top 10 deadliest surgeries too.
That's the thing. I've been a doctor now for about 15 years, and since I've been practicing, I've not seen someone who died, out of prostate surgery. I'm not saying people don't die, but I've not seen. And now that brings me to the fact that if you want a treatment, you should seek for a specialist or someone who knows about that. Now, majorly what kills people from prostate surgery is bleeding.
Okay.
And so when you go to some facilities where they don't have things, the expertise, now when that bleeding starts, the person who has decided to do that something may not know what to do. He may know that he needs blood, but there's no blood bank around. Okay, so but if you go to places that are well equipped to treat this, if that happens, you have backup. Okay, but if you go to specialists, they are trained to do this surgery without even having bleeding. I have people who are afraid of this surgery over the years, and eventually when they do have it, they start thanking you. that they didn't know that this is what happens. And what people are doing is very good, because if you are bringing specialists to talk about these things, because if you know, the Medical and Dental Council of Nigeria does not allow you to advertise your hospital, but Nigerians still allow people who do herbal things to advertise freely, and then the populace is what they hear that they follow. So if they always hear that herbal this, herbal that will cure, they will go. But the thing is that at the end, they don't get that cure. They now still come back. Okay, and that time it costs more, give more stress to the surgeon and even the patient.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is the most we can have on this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Ifeanacho. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, it's all our conversation is on the enlarged prostate, a family full of men. If you're a man out there, you should probably get it checked out if you suffer the symptoms. And if you're just joining us, you can revisit this conversation so you can take notes of what the symptoms are and what you should always look out for. Thank you for joining us once again, Doctor.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, after this timeout, we'll have another discourse for today.